equipment.
Okay.
The projector is controlled by the clicker, which is a laptop up in the crow's nest.
Right. Got it.
.658. Sure, if you want to get in position here. Mallory, you just want to do one quick mic check for me here? Quick mic check.
I was waiting to see if, Gary, did you want to go see if 44 wanted their mic up here? Oh, they're right there. Okay. For those of you that have mics up here, I'm going to do a quick mic check, so let me know if you have volume. We're going to start here in just a couple minutes, so testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. You guys good out there? Can you hear me on your mics up here? Yes? Good? All right, perfect. You good?
All right, C-Spot, you want me to go ahead and hit the live stream here? All right, good. Stand by and I go live. So we know who they are.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Quick confirmation here. I'll let you know, Troy. All right, Troy, you ready to go? I'll count you down here. You can just look out at the audience. Ready? And 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. I know everybody's got busy schedules, so I'm thankful for the people who come out to see what we got going on here. I want to thank the school for being good partners with us in coordination of this project. Principal Huff and his staff have been real good to work with, and we thank them for letting us use this wonderful facility for our meetings. I want to thank the city, the mayor's office, and his staff for partnering with INDOT to fund this project and get this project going. So we're here tonight to talk about the pedestrian bridge over 41 here at the school, Washington Avenue. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a comment period for people. After the presentation, that comment period will only be for the pedestrian bridge. So if you have any comments for the intersection improvement that we have boxes across the hall for that, and you can look at some of that on there. Thanks for everybody that's joining us online. Just keep in mind that social media comments will not be official comments. So if you comment on there that you want an official comment, we'll have contacts for you. You can send in an official comment, but none of the comments in social media will be considered official. With that, I'd like to introduce H&TB. We brought H&TB onto our INDOT team to help develop this project, and Mallory Duncan here is going to give you a presentation.
Hello, good evening. Thank you all for joining us here today. We're very excited to bring you this update for this project. And just be able to hear some of your comments and give you a chance to see what's coming in this area. So to start off, wanted to give you a little bit of the agenda for tonight. We've broken this up into kind of 2 different phases, so I'm going to go through some of the project participants, some stakeholders, then kind of where we've been. So there's been engineering, there's been environmental, and then there's been some aesthetic choices that have been made for this pedestrian bridge, so we're going to walk through all of that, and then where we're going. Just how we get to that finish line, how we get to construction and actually building this pedestrian bridge out there on 41. So that's a look at what we're doing here, and that's my portion, and then we'll open it up for public comments after that. So first of all, wanted to introduce you to some of the project participants and stakeholders. Obviously, the Indiana Department of Education is a big stakeholder. They're the ones building this project. This US 41 pedestrian grade separation, it's a project sponsored by INDOT with funding and support from the City of Evansville and the Federal Highway Administration. So there are a couple stakeholders in this project. Most obviously would be in Boston High School, where we are today. We wanted to thank them for allowing us to be here today. And also the local community. And then our part, HNTV, this project is designed by HNTV, so that's why we're here tonight talking to you. So a quick review of where we've been. This presentation is going to provide an update on this project for you. So we've had some public involvement meetings before, so we're going to give you an update on what's new. And then also where we're headed regarding both engineering and the environmental process, and then obviously construction. And then again, we will end with that public comment period. So let's start off with design. INDOT started planning for this project in 2019. At that point, they completed, and we've shown you a preliminary alternatives report. So that's when we took a bunch of different alternatives for this intersection, and we settled on the pedestrian bridge. And that was a brief overview of the public involvement that we've had so far. We've explored the location and the type of crossing that would be most effective. And then we, like I said, we presented those findings to you in late 2020 at that public meeting. And then we also had specifics for the chosen crossing, which is this pedestrian bridge. So since that last meeting, we've completed the preliminary design and we finalized aesthetics. And those choices were again presented at the last couple of meetings, so we'll get into the aesthetics later. I know that's very exciting. And we're excited to show you those as well. So here's a little bit more of the design. All of you know, you can see the ramp system. This pedestrian bridge is going to provide safe passage over US 41. It's going to be a traditional truss-style bridge, and that's modeled after the other pedestrian bridges that you see on the Lloyd Expressway today. One little change, it's on the west side of the pedestrian bridge. You can see in this picture that the high rail trail is closer to the road, and that's with a little bit of a change. We've straightened out that high rail trail, so right now it's a little bit of a curve. It will be straightened out, and that's a little bit of a change from when we last talked to you at the public hearing. And then eventually, the at-grade crossing and the relief island, which is right there in the middle of US 41, those are going to be removed eventually after construction to encourage everyone that comes across this intersection to use the pedestrian bridge instead of crossing 41. So next, I'm going to show you a video of what it will look like when you use the pedestrian bridge, when it's complete. This video is also out in the lobby, so you might have seen it before, but I just wanted to walk you through a couple quick things on that video. If you are joining us virtually, this video will be posted online after this meeting, and it's also been on social media before, so there's lots of places that you can see it in case it doesn't quite show up in that live stream. So let's take a look. This is basically just to give you a better idea of how that ramp system will look. You can see that you enter, and it will again provide that passage over US 41 so that pedestrians do not have to cross that street. An added feature of keeping that trail where it is and straightening it out, that drivers will be able to see pedestrians, bikers, any sort of trail users from the road right there instead of getting blocked by the pedestrian bridge. So the visibility of the trail users will be a lot better. You can also see that when you're up here, right at the top, you're going to be about 20 feet above US 41 right there. And then as we moved along the bridge, you saw the slope and the landings. Those are all ADA compliant throughout the entire pedestrian bridge. So again, that video is pretty quick, but it's also out in the lobby, and we will post that after this meeting as well. So there were several environmental steps that INDOT had to go through for this project, as I mentioned before. So the project team completed a document in the environmental process that evaluates the project's effects on the natural environment, the cultural resources, and the community, and we're going to go through all of those effects in just here in a minute. That document, the full document, is available for public review in a couple places in Evansville, at the Vanderburgh County Central and East Library locations. And then here tonight we have a full copy of it if you would really like to stay and look through the entire environmental document. You might be here a while, it's about this thick, but we welcome you to look at any single part of it. It's also going to be online, so if you'd like to go home and do that reading, then you are welcome to. It might put you to sleep tonight, and maybe that's a helpful thing, so there you go. The project team is going to review all the comments received, not only on, we're going to review them on the document, not only here tonight, but throughout the public comment period. So more information on that and how you can submit that comment, especially if you're not here with us tonight, just a little later, you will have a chance to do that, and that project team will review every single one. So once the comments and any additional information is incorporated into the final environmental document, INDOT's going to review it and then send it over to the Federal Highway Administration for final approval. And then we can get to fun stuff like construction. So moving on within the environmental. So we had to include an additional review process as part of this project. It's called Section 106, and that protects historical properties. And we had to include this because the Lincolnshire Historic District is within this project limits. That includes Enlow Field and also right where we are today, Benjamin Bosse High School. So you can see in this picture the kind of historic district in relationship to the project. And again, we have a bigger board with that outside if you want to take a closer look at it a little later. It was determined after this environmental section that this project would have no adverse effect on the historic integrity of this district. And that determination was made in partnership with Indiana Landmarks and also the City of Evansville's Historic Preservation Office and the IDNR Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology. So INDOT consulted with a lot of these different parties, and they were able to make that determination. So another environmental portion we had to go through was the recreational use. And we had to evaluate the impacts on any recreational areas under Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act. The City of Evansville was identified as an official with jurisdiction over this portion because of the High Rail Trail. So the High Rail Trail is located on the west side of US 41. It extends from Riverside Drive to Walnut Street. This trail is a multi-use asphalt path with occasional park benches and amenities. So as we were designing the US 41 pedestrian bridge, INDOT determined that there will be property acquisition from the High Rail Trail as well as relocation of a portion of the trail, which we told you before, we're going to straighten out that trail right there next to US 41 instead of that little curve. The trail will fall next to 41 on the east side of the pedestrian bridge ramp, and that was decided so that, like I said before, the increase of the visibility will increase safety in this area. So after review of the project is anticipated to be a de minimis use of the trail, and that just means that there will be such a small impact, it will not adversely affect the activities, features, or attributes of the park. So that preliminary finding has been sent to the City of Evansville. All comments about this section received tonight during the public comment period will be sent to the City of Evansville as well for consideration because INDOT has asked them to weigh in and agree with this de minimis designation. Okay, moving on. So we're still in this where we've been portion, and we've had a couple public information meetings before. So these public meetings are part of the environmental process. We've had two previously, and we're in the final public involvement piece right now here tonight. So that is very exciting. As we move through environmental, we're going to look at what's coming for this pedestrian bridge, including construction. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit of the results from the last meeting that was held here. So let's get into the aesthetic portion, the truly fun part of what this bridge is going to look like when it's built. If you can't quite make it out, these mesh panels across the top will mimic those that you see on the Lloyd Expressway. All these boards are available out there. You can look closely, but that's kind of where the design was coming from. So that's kind of the top, that's the truss part of the bridge. Here is the pier. So the preferred pier option is a very traditional, there we go. Preferred pier option is a traditional design. We're going to use a form liner to stamp the concrete to mimic chiseled limestone. And that also can include several accent colors. This design is similar to other structures around Evansville, so we're trying to fit the bridge in with the city and really be a part of the community. So this was the clear choice from the preference results tallied from public meeting number 2. And you can see it right here. The metal emblems on the bridge piers will match the Bosse High School logo, and the E that you see is related to Evansville's campaign, Their E is for Everyone. The city is encouraging people to create their own E's, and we wanted to match that right there on the bridge. Also, a fun little fact, the B will be on the east side, which will be technically next to the high school, so as you're driving next to the high school, you get that logo right there next to you. All right, so you can take a closer look at this. Like I said, outside, we have it online. If it's a little small, but basically this is the preferred ramp and railing from the previous meeting. The brick is reminiscent of the historic district, so not only are we trying to mimic the and also, the pedestrian bridge that you see on the Lloyd Expressway, but also with the brick, we wanted to fit in with that historic district that we had to do that additional environmental for, because we want it to look very similar and fit inside the community right here. So now let's take a look at where we're going. First thing is a project schedule. So like I said, we're in the final public involvement section of the project. You can see right there, we are here. After this comment period is over, which is July 18th, INDOT's going to review all those comments and get the project ready for advertisement. Right now, we're looking to start construction on the pedestrian bridge in the summer of 2023. It will be a one construction season project. So in 2023, look for some construction, look for those barrels, and we'll finally get started on this pedestrian bridge. So as I've said throughout, we've had a lot of information. There's a lot of slides with pictures and designs and different aesthetics. You can see all of those on INDOT's website and through the INDOT Southwest social media channels. That's going to be your best bet to find updates on this project as we move toward construction here in the next 9 months or so, next year. So the website and then also social media will have everything that we've talked about here tonight. Feel free to use that as a resource. Okay, now it's your turn. We're going to start the public comment section. I have a list of a couple names of people that have already signed up. If you didn't sign up, don't worry about it. Feel free to come on down, but just let me go through a couple of housekeeping things before we start this public comment section. Couple reminders. We're going to be hearing comments that will be entered into the public record for this project. As I said before, the project team will review every single comment that we get, not only tonight, but throughout the public comment period. All live comments tonight, including those letters and emails and phone call comments, will also be entered into the public record. For those joining us on live stream, I know we mentioned it before, but we cannot accept social media comments into the public record. If you'd like to make a formal comment, please send an email or letter after tonight's presentation. We will gladly accept that into the public record for you. One more reminder for you guys, this public comment period is for the pedestrian bridge project only. If you'd like to provide a comment for the intersection improvement that we saw just across the hall there are comment sheets out there. Feel free to write it down and we will take them that way. But in here tonight at the microphones, please keep your comments to the pedestrian. And also just be respectful of people's time. If you'd like to make a longer comment, we do have a court reporter right over there, and she'd be happy to take your comment, and especially if you don't want to write it or what have you. She's a great resource for you over there, and that can happen after the public comment period. So I'm going to leave this slide to start the public comment period. That way you can take down the email in case you need it, and for those of us joining us on live stream, here's the information if you'd like to submit your comment after. Let me pull these names up here. We have 2 microphones tonight. If you would make a line behind those microphones, we're just going to alternate one on each side as we move through. So the first person I have on this list is Brent Jackson, and then James Mosley are on deck. So those are the only 2 I had sign up. Feel free to come on down and give your comment. And then again, if anyone else would like to make a comment, we will just be ready with the microphone right there. So Brent, if you'd like to start us off.
Test. Not getting anything. Test. One more time. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you. First, my name is Brent Jackson. I live at 1401 Schematic Avenue, and the President's Neighborhood Association is on the east side of Highway 41. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I really appreciate you taking your time to come out here and give us a little bit of an update of where you guys are at, what you've been doing, and how the project is coming along. I think it's very important that we have this open comment period so that we're not calling up INDOT and getting irate about where we're at with this project. Howie, is there 1 or 2 L's in your name?
There are 2 L's in my name,
Right.
and there's a Y at the end because the crazies have the IE.
All right. This comment period, are we allowed to ask questions?
Feel free to ask them, but we will not be responding.
Okay, great. In your presentation, it showed Highway 41 in Washington where the bridge is going to be built. And I noticed that the piano key crosslay was missing in the demonstration. Are you guys planning on removing those piano strikings from 41? Is that a question that I can ask?
It is, but we're not answering them up here, but someone will have the answer for you right out there, and you can talk to the project team about it.
Okay. And that's the end of my questions. Thank you very much.
And Brent did such a great job, I forgot to say. If you could say your name and your address at the beginning of your comment, that'd be awesome for public record. Thank you.
I'm James Mosley, and I have property at 1419 Judson Avenue. Again, we're glad to hear this update on this project. It's been one that's been on the board for quite a while, so we're glad to see us moving forward in good direction. So thank you for being here tonight. My question is going to go to the environmental focus of the project. It's not going to be strictly related to the ped bridge, but it will focus on the environmental aspects of it. So the first question I'd like to ask, and I know you're not going to answer it, but I'm curious if that environmental document you're referring to, is that going to be stored as a repository at the East Branch Library? That would be a good local location for folks who in the area that want to do that environmental document. If that East Branch Library to serve as a repository, I would just suggest that. Secondly, also I noticed where you indicated the existing median would eventually be removed to encourage folks to use the ramp and the ped bridge. And so I'm thinking to the extent where there may be some individuals able-bodied, they may want to just go across the street the way they're used to doing it, where that median would still be there in some kind of fashion to help facilitate those who choose to not use the ped bridge, because everyone may not necessarily use it. But for those, and we definitely need it and want it, but for those who may choose not to, just kind of curious that median or some portion of the facility there to help facilitate, let's say, access across the street to the other side. What I would suggest, I would humbly suggest to the INDOT and also the Metropolitan Planning Organization that they would consider initiating a portable study for Washington Avenue as a potential complete street project to facilitate multimodal mobility, east-west Evansville. The study should prioritize pedestrian, bike, and public transit access. It should also prioritize the incorporation of green infrastructure, environmental standpoint, along Washington Avenue to reduce stormwater runoff, air pollution, and the heat island impacts. We are in the heat island area. And as you, the Working Institute reports indicates that the impacts and goes into the impacts behind air pollution on educational outcomes and inequalities. There are several schools along US 41. And so they can definitely benefit from that. The federal agencies would include the Department of Transportation, EPA, and HUD for transit accessible, affordable housing and commercial revitalization in order to implement a whole government approach, which has been promoted by the new bipartisan infrastructure law. And what it would do would also oppose and promote environmental justice and transportation equity. So the development, please keep multimodal plan for BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, pedestrian residents, and school students to mitigate the negative impacts of the highly air polluting vehicular traffic on these major thoroughfares, US 41 and Lloyd. Also, it will incorporate pedestrian and bike-friendly public pathways, pedestrian and bike overpasses, green infrastructure, and possible options such as a bus rapid transit along US 41. It will complement the Evansville Climate Action Plan that the mayor signed in last year, the Evansville Climate Action Plan, and also the local NPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Code. Finally, if we could, and consistent with the Justice for the initiative of bipartisan infrastructure law, it will utilize WMEDs, culturally competent consultants on the project to do community planning, consultants to achieve the J40 goals intended to ensure meaningful community engagement and involvement in the transformation of US 41 and other important routes here in Evansville. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to give a
Good afternoon, evening, whatever this is. My name is Michael Duckworth Sr. I live at 8309 Larch Lane in Evansville, Indiana. Zip code 47710. 1974 graduate of Washington High School, and I served 22 years on our school board. This project has been boosted for over 20 years, and it is a great feeling that finally we have a governor and a mayor that went to bat for this project, and now it's looks like it's going to be a reality. I'm here today because I saw some of the initial plans. I've been to a couple of previous meetings, and I would just suggest that in your design that you put a top on the area that goes across 41. I would hate to see someone's immaturity or someone's goofiness, or whatever you want to call it, of rolling something off of that onto the oncoming traffic and causing an accident or a crime to be committed. This, unlike the other structures that are across North Expressway, is next to a school, and students are immature, and they have a tendency to do immature things. And I would just caution INDOT to not create a situation that would cause a problem. This has been a long time coming, and this community should be very proud of this. And I would more than anything hate to see something bad happen after, with all this trouble, and all this time, and all this expense, without the due diligence of making it as safe as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Mitch Lumen, and I live at 1644 East Blackbird, and I'm also vice president of the University South neighborhood adjacent to the school here. I come in support of the pedestrian bridge, and I call into evidence two factors, one of which has not improved since the Washington Avenue east or westbound no turn on red has been enforced for the last couple of months. First item I'd like to call into evidence for the need for the bridge is the frequency of which the median crosswalk indicator has been collided with vehicles. It hasn't been a couple of weeks since this went down again. This is a very dangerous intersection for pedestrians, as evidenced by the multiple times over the last several years that center signal indicator walk, do not walk, has been taken down. As a second bit of evidence I'd like to call into account is anecdotal evidence that I have as a resident of the area of the numerous and frequent violators of the no turn on red indicator for the westbound traffic at Washington and US 41. Just this morning, I conducted a traffic study where I conducted video evidence of vehicles turning right on red, and based on the amount of traffic and the time of the day, I estimate that 50% of vehicles approaching US 41 on Washington with the intent of turning right on red will violate that and turn right on red nonetheless. This is a danger for pedestrians who are permitted to walk during this period when right on red is prohibited action. So I support this based on these two pieces of anecdotal evidence and many others, which others have commented on. And if anything can be done by INDOT and our law enforcement here in Evansville to mitigate this current situation before 2023, I enter that into the record as well. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make a comment?
Good evening. My name is Thomas Dick, resident of 835 South. My name is Thomas Dick, 835 East South. It was only for Citizen 100. And I know you won't most likely not be able to comment on this, but however, I would like to make sure that there's some follow-up as it relates to a response. And I have two questions, or two areas of focus. One is, let me take this off. Excuse me. One is in regards to the handicapped community, or people with challenge who are going to be utilizing this pedestrian bridge. Are there going to be some accommodations, i.e. ADA grants that will give them the ability to get up and over? And as Mr. Dunbar spoke of, I think the mindset too of having something as a top that would include and also help them in regard to if they're crossing, not to have rain, snow, or other inclement weather to come in contact with them while they're up there, so of course it doesn't create a hazard as it relates to ice or other things that happen. So all that will be considered. The second is in regards to minority and moving businesses. And I realize, and do have some experience in the city of INDOT, will there be advertisement for the professional service, for the construction of this particular pedestrian bridge, and where will it be? So minority companies, women-owned companies will have the ability to let themselves to look at the opportunities to self-serve and possibly participate. So that was my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? There's also the ability to submit those written comments. And we do have our court reporter over here who can help take down your comments as well. So just as a quick follow-up to one of your comments, the documents are at the library. It is the full environmental. So you'll be able to view those, and there's a couple different locations. And in regards to all the questions that were asked as part of this public comment period, our project team is outside, and they will be able to answer all of those for you. So if you'd like to go talk to them, we're going to be here for a little while longer. We'd love to hear any questions, and they'll be able to answer all of those for you out there. But again, thank you all so much for coming. Those comments are due by July 18th. And all of that information is up there, and it will be on the INDOT website here shortly, so hopefully you'll be able to get all that information. If you do have additional questions, again, our project team is waiting outside for you. You'll be able to take a closer look at those boards that were presented tonight too. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.